Hello, friends. We are here today to talk about Cibola Burn. It's the fourth book. Yes, fourth book in the Expanse series. I had to check the spine of the book to make sure I had the right number. So we're here with the crew for the Expanse read. Chris, do you want to kick us off with some introductions?
Yeah, my name's Chris. I sometimes make YouTube videos and talk on podcasts about books and movies that I like.
Very quick, very quick. Hi, I'm Robin.
That's it.
I have a YouTube called Bookends and Biscuits where I mostly discuss books and mostly in the realm of sci-fi and crime. So yeah, that's me.
Yes. And Layla?
Yes, I'm Layla Goshi, an English professor. I'm a writer, and you can find me on Twitter.
Nice. And soon there'll be more, but
Soon there'll be more.
yeah,
I'm
we're
excited
anxiously
for this.
waiting.
I'll tell you all about that later.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were chatting right before we went live about. It sounds like we're gonna have some differing opinions on this one, so it could be a fun one. So Layla, what were your thoughts on this one?
Well, I really enjoyed it. I feel like it's the best one I've read so far, of the books. I'm not talking about episodes or anything, related yet. And I think it was just certain themes and tropes, as I said, that I've always enjoyed. I've always enjoyed the idea of the lonely, deserted civilization out there in space, and this had that, definitely had that with all of the, the million-year-old machinery that cranks back up. I've always kind of really enjoyed that type of theme and story. So that was one of many things that I liked about it.
I think you scared Chris away.
Yeah.
Maybe he changed his mind.
He was just done. He was just done with them.
What about you, Robin? What were your thoughts on this one?
I liked it a lot actually, because for the very similar reason actually as Layla, because I really enjoy that colony on a planet trying to work it out and the kind of issues that you have in that kind of place, and you've got resource issues and you always have the fights between who wants to be leader, and that's something that I've always enjoyed in past sci-fi books, but I can also see the negative side of it, because you went from the first three books being quite big and political in space to being reduced right down to this tiny kind of story on a planet. So I feel like in the series, it probably not my favorite, but as a book I really enjoyed it. So I thought it was good. I didn't like how they teased Bobby at the beginning and then didn't bring her back. That annoyed me quite a lot. But in general, I did actually enjoy it. I enjoyed the first half a lot more than the second, though. The second half, it got a bit, not ridiculous is the wrong word, but a bit much, I think, in some places for me. But that's what's coming. How about you?
I like the bones of like the meat. There's a lot of fat though.
Yeah,
There's a lot that just didn't need to be there. I think there's some really great ideas, but I do see almost like a formula that they kind of use for each book, and that's fine. But like Robin, like you had mentioned, towards like the over halfway, that there's a lot there that just didn't really add anything, and it just kind of lost interest a little bit. But the epilogue was really good. That's when it kind of I think that's probably my favorite part of the book, is the very end, is the conversation between Eva Sorella and Bobby. But I really miss them. They are some of my favorite characters, so I miss their presence. But yeah, overall it was okay. But I think it could have been half the size and told the same story.
Yeah, no, I do fully agree with that. There was a lot of not filler, but as you said, a bit of fat on top of it there. So too bad. So when you said you missed Bobby and us, I can't say, I'm giving up immediately. Did you enjoy the new points of view we got in this book? Because we had LV, Havelock, Holden, Basia, I don't know if you say it that way, and then the investigator did. So I think we had 5. Oh, well, 6 if you count Bobby as well as a interim sort of thing.
I thought they were okay. Havelock is from the first book, right? That's the
Yeah.
detective.
Yeah.
That was kind of neat that they brought him back. But
Yeah.
Was it though? Was it?
it was okay. It was cool that there was like I remember him. But
It's like there are only like 10 people in this entire world. Sometimes is that people just happen to be in 2 places in one time, even though we're in different galaxies. I don't know.
Welcome back, Chris. What were your overall thoughts on this one?
I hate read some of this. I have to admit, there were times when I went, "Oh my god!" But I learned an awful lot about myself while doing it. Yeah, believe it or not.
So what was it that didn't quite do it for you?
Well, one of the reasons I actually wanted to come on, because I know Robin reads a lot of sci-fi as well. And to me, this isn't very sci-fi-ish. And a lot of the science doesn't actually make sense. I'm sure we'll get to it later. Like the role of Miller in this, really, by the time we got to the later stages of this book, I went, what is happening here? This is not how non-corporeal things work. So a lot of the sci-fi didn't make sense. And then I think also the fact that it's about 100 pages longer than the previous books. And I don't really know why they needed another 100 pages other than spent up the locations. There's a lot of things contrived in it, like the ship where the daughter was put on to make us care about the people on the ship. The daughter was literally just put on there so that we would feel the peril there. But again, in reality, why was she on the ship? She went up to the ship so that she could get off planet, but the ship wasn't going anywhere. There's just lots of little things that annoyed me about it. I'll try and use it as comic relief as we make our way through it. So yeah.
Yeah, Chris, you picked on something that bothered me about the last book, which is, I don't remember all the names right now, but it, they all seem to know each other.
Yeah.
Like Clarissa. Oh, it was Clarissa, and there just happened to be a socialite who,
Tilly was on there, yeah.
Parents, yeah. So that is kind of a technique that they use, I guess. And I think it makes you interested and care about the character. But
sure.
Yeah, you really have to suspend your belief or disbelief. Yeah. So I can see that. I see your point on that.
Yeah, I think the other thing that annoyed me, it didn't turn into the book that I thought it was going to be after about the first 100 pages. I thought it was going to be very thematically rich in terms of exploring the rights and needs of colonization and what's correct and right about that. And it just kind of, after 100 pages, it just kind of threw all that out the window and kind of went, we're going to tell a different story here. We're going to tell a much more action-oriented story here, and then threw that apart, which it was maybe just plays into the disappointment as I was reading along going, it didn't give me what I wanted out of it. Which I maybe never forgive it for up to that point.
I'm curious what you all think about this. Is Holden supposed to be an unlikable character? Because he's a little bit of a scumbag, isn't he? I mean, he's still, because has this relationship and it seems like everything is working out pretty well, but he's still kind of, his eyes wander a lot. I think I don't know. He didn't do anything, but still, I don't know. Just me. Maybe it's just me.
No, I think that's admitted in the book. Not that I'm defending it or whatever, but I think it's indicated that that's how he was up until he met Naomi, and maybe we're starting to see that he still has, those tendencies. And actually, it was Elvie that shut him down.
Yeah.
Even though he told her first that he didn't think they'd work out or whatever, but obviously he was aware of some kind of feeling between them.
Oh, I didn't really like that at all. I thought, I didn't really like her character for a start. I didn't like the way she was written and some of the stuff that the female character issue, I think. But I didn't see it that way. I thought he how I read it or how I took it was I thought he noticed that obviously she had a thing for him and he didn't know how to get out of that situation. Not as in like he would have gone anywhere with it, although I understand that last chapter where she's suddenly like, oh, actually he's just a man, it put when he was talking to her about it, but I really felt that it was him just being awkward with having that kind of attention when he wasn't wanting it, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I read it exactly the same, Robin, to be honest. I didn't think there was ever any prospect from Holden's side that he was ever going to do anything. Although I was interested to hear both yourself and Neil's opinion on how Elvie was written, because I thought that whole bit where she went from being infatuated to him to all of a sudden, after one night, you know, waking up in a sweat, and all of a sudden she was fine again. I just thought that was so...
Actually, I felt the same way. I just want to say I felt the same way. Yes. Go ahead.
I did and I didn't. I kind of loved, I actually liked the kind of the fact that they gave it a very scientific kind of, like it was to do with biology and it was just a psychological process. And I get that's kind of a bit meh, but it kind of made me chuckle. I didn't think it was like terrible. And it kind of gave me I have an interest in human psychology and that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I think I can understand that. But yeah, as I said, I didn't really like her as a character anyway. Although I did like the way she got into her work, because I think that described flow states very well. Getting into your flow state when you're working. I can understand that side of things. But
I like that bit of it too. But then I thought, well, why write her characters have been infatuated? You know what I mean? It was a bit of an odd thing to write, given what they end up using it for. I don't know. It seemed to be odd.
Well,
no.
I wondered if it was a balance for Naomi's friendship with Havelock, you know, and I don't know the reason for that either in terms of the plot. Like, what does it advance or prove that they have some kind of friendship flirtation going on? And so I don't know if they were just trying to humanize them as a couple, to say, you know, sometimes temptations are out there or whatever, you know, but it did, I can see how it's a distraction. And one thing I missed too was in regard to Elvie and science, is that I felt like Elvie was there to do science that the plot wanted her to do, you know, that the writers wanted her to do, not there for, you know, I mean, there's so much going on when they land, you know, or they try to land. And then they're on this strange planet where any potential minor issue could suddenly become a crisis.
Yes, for sure.
And then they've got, you know, these artifacts, these ruins. And, you know, she's not saying anything like, hey, we need to shut everything down because this is like the find of the century. She's not saying any of this. And she's not, and none of them seem to feel like that, you know, what is it? Threatened. I mean, they're out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. And they could show a little bit more healthy fear and respect for where they are.
Did you not hate? I absolutely hated the scene where she goes into the like town hall meeting and she's like, so guys, we need to like not do this, and then she kind of runs off and I was just like, that was awful. Oh my god. I hated that entire interaction. I just thought that was so poorly done. I'm like, if she's a scientist at the top of her field, I get that science people can be a bit awkward. I work in a science field. But like I just thought that whole interaction was just like so cringy. I just didn't like that at all. I didn't think, but you're right, I didn't think they took it, you'd be far more aware of how much of an issue this could be for you. In fact, you're going to live nowhere and you haven't got the resources or backup. I agree.
Yeah. But a lot of the plot felt like that. It was very contrived. Everything happened in a certain way for maximum effect and story-wise. Like, if the RCE were going to that planet to set up a dome, why would they land on top of the squatters? Like, it's a whole planet. They could literally have landed on the other side and we had no issues. They could have set up their dome over there, and then why would you go on top of a contested plot. Like I realize we wouldn't have a book then, but the whole thing just felt very contrived, as if these really small, minor decisions were made this way for plot reasons. I don't know. I think it just started to grate on me when these things like Holden's attitude and the way that he approached the whole thing felt very. He doesn't come out very well out of it, to be honest, does he? I think he's a bit of a wet lettuce, and I have to admit, I think the whole thing that annoys me most about him is that I can actually think that that's exactly what I would do, and I think that's the bit that really annoyed me. It's exactly, for somebody that's supposed to be the hero of the story, he's doing exactly what I would do. As a pacifist or otherwise, I would just be like, "Oh, everybody, calm down. We're okay." I don't know.
I think, even though I've said several negative things now about the book, what I did like about it was, with Holden, we are starting to see that perfection crack a bit more, where, he comes in that he's going to be, unbiased, and he's going to, assert the law of, Aversarala and the, United Nations or United Planets or whatever, I forget. And he starts to crack, as his own team gets threatened and as the work he's trying to do is undermined. And so I think I liked that part, that it was showing that he can be perfect in a perfect world, but when it's just, a frontier like that, a free-for-all, you have to start making hard choices. And sometimes they don't fit your ethics.
Yeah. I did think, actually, maybe the book was setting up the hero's journey a little bit, is that Holden went in with one intention and realized that he had to end up doing another. Ultimately, at the end, for all of his morals and the things that he would like to have happened, it was going to end a certain way. And I actually really loved the epilogue. I was actually totally my favorite. It was worth getting to the end of the book to get the epilogue, where Avasarala says, "God damn James Holden, he screwed up the one time I wanted him to go in and make a mess of things and screw up the way he normally does, and he did none of it." And I really loved that tying of it together. I thought that was great.
No, that's good.
That was the one thing that I thought, because throughout the whole book, I'm thinking, why would they send Holden to? Why would send him of all people? Why?
Yeah.
But then it makes sense that okay, they wanted him to fail. So, but I love the epilogue too, and there's just so many things you wouldn't think of. There's this frontier, this whole new part of the universe that is just right. We could just do whatever we want with it. It's this new, and just you don't really think of, okay, how do we who manages it, who makes these decisions. That's all really interesting. I thought that was probably my favorite part of the book, is kind of thinking that through.
Yeah, I absolutely adored, and my favorite bit particularly, it was at the end as well, where they were talking about the effect, and she was going through the massive issue this is going to be for Mars potentially. And I loved this. I think it was a sentence, probably one I marked, was a sentence where she's talking about, do you know what we'd do on Earth if half the population left? We'd make bigger houses, but on Mars, the whole infrastructure, the politics, everything would just fail miserably, and it would be a massive issue for me. I really liked the idea of, not like the idea of that, but like the discussion around that, and thinking that far ahead. I just thought was really, really interesting. I like that idea.
It was touched earlier on in the book as well, that actually, what's the purpose of space? If you have an unlimited amount of habitable worlds, why would anybody live in space as well? And this whole idea of the sci-fi living in space thing, I thought that was really interesting. So with these little touch points where they were talking thematically about, the larger implications other than what was happening on this planet, and those bits are really interesting and lead to way more questions that need answered further on down the line, and then kind of got back to the power going out in ships that sit in orbit somehow.
I think it's what you were talking about, Robin, is on 579. I have that one tabbed. Half the Martian government understands, and they're shitting themselves so hard they want to have bones left. Who the fuck's going to stay on Mars? 1,000 new worlds you don't have to live in. caves and wear environment suits to walk in under the sky, no one's going to be there. Do you know what would happen if half the population of Earth left for the worlds beyond the ring? We knock down some walls and make bigger apartments. That's how people end up on basic.
Hmm.
So, do you know what would happen if Mars 20% of the population leaves? So then everything was shut down. Terraforming would be shut down. It'd be a disaster. So, all that was the best part, I thought.
Yeah, it was. That part was great.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Because
Yeah, I think-
those are the big. Sorry.
No, you can.
I was going to say, those are the bigger sci-fi parts. This is the bits you want out of a sci-fi novel. The really big ideas are the things that tie you together and go, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that. And kind of push the corners of your brain rather than the minute-to-minute actiony kind of pulpy stuff that's happening.
I think they've also. I love it because it's the arc across the whole series. In the earlier books, there's been this big discussion about how Mars is one nation who has one idea, has one plan, which is to terraform, and they all be brought together, and that's why they're so good at what they do. And that also now, if that goes away, I like the way it's the continuation of the series and the discussions of how that changes. I think it's great. So.
A couple of comments. Our friend Shadia is here. Hey, Shadia. Also, Fit to be Bred said it had the same feeling about Lenny next to the settlement. And regular sci-fi failing to imagine planets are big and diverse, not one small stretch of land and people.
Yeah, because you got that feeling when the LV was driving along with Amos, when they were going through the different biospheres, when they were going to chase Holden at the end, of how diverse the fauna and the flora and stuff was, the different biomes that they went through, and we got to see none of this. Why would they not have, if she was a scientist, but like you said, Robin, if she really was a scientist, she would have been out there doing that way earlier, rather than just being a doctor, because they already had a doctor. Alicia.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And what did you say about Miller earlier, Chris?
Oh.
About AI? Is that what you?
So Miller is a construct in Holden's head, isn't he? He's not actually there. So he's literally just a projection from within Holden's head into Holden's ocular implants, and then he takes over an alien form or a machine in the building.
Oh yeah.
What?
And LV seems to be fine with that.
Yeah, everybody seems to be fine with that. But he doesn't exist, right? It's not like he's an actual thing. He's a bit of goo on the Rocinante, projected there.
Yeah.
I don't know, the whole thing. I was like, what is happening here? And he rips off the door, so all of a sudden they can affect the world around him if he can take something else over. Whereas for the last 2 books, he hasn't been able to do that. That bit annoyed me. If this had been a standalone, I'd have closed the book at that stage. It really got to me. I was like,
no.
what is happening?
Oh, geez, I just, when you have a thought when you say something and now it completely went out of my head. That was it. What did you guys think of the investigator parts of the book? Because I thought that gave us a little bit more, I guess, understanding of the station, I guess. So what did you guys think of and actually of where Miller was from?
That bit was interesting, and I have to admit, I don't know if I really totally understood it. I got the progression as it went the investigator back to the investigator interludes, is that the investigator sort of was Miller at some point, with little references first to the hat and then the beer and all of that kind of stuff. They were interesting because you did get this idea that reaching out, and they even said, I think it's the second one, doors and windows. I think that was the first time you got an indication that it was Miller himself. But I did feel like I was missing something.
Because I read it, it wasn't Miller. That was the station that was looking for the people that built it before, and that Miller was just a kind of a sub process of that.
It was part of the thinking mechanism behind it. But it started to creep in more and more as every time we went back to the investigators, he became more prevalent. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't. It was interesting, but yeah, I think also confusing for me anyway. But it did give you a bigger idea of something else going on. It took me out of that kind of into the more interesting aspects of the story, and it I did appreciate that every time he came along, I was going to get a little bit more about something.
You know, in a way, I feel like it's a representation of the invisible character, which is whoever did come before. You know, whoever did create the Miller bot, you know, or whatever it is, and all of the machinery. And I love that part. Because it's like there's this character out there in the, you know, waiting in the wings, so to speak. But we're never really going to see that character because they're extinct. And so we're finding them through things like Miller, or the investigator, or the, you know, I keep thinking of them as monoliths, you know, whatever the big structures are that apparently are meant to generate energy. Like that whole planet was just meant to be an energy planet.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I like about that. I'm not sure that they've done it as well as I wanted them to, where I could get a better sense of what were these people about. I mean, if I were going to take this into a new direction with LV, it would be, you know, archaeology. I mean, who was here? What happened? What were the centers of importance of the place? And so I just feel like that's kind of an untapped area. But that's what fascinated me, and that's what made me enjoy the book. Really, was sort of thinking down those lines.
Does anyone else get the feeling like Miller's consciousness is somehow attached to, like, he's there? It's kind of the impression I got from some of the interludes, like he's not really in control, or it's kind of like he's a part of it now, like he's been absorbed.
I got a real, you know, Terminator AI type of feel where, you know, you come to this boundary where, is this human or is this machine, or is this, you know, spirit? And so I like that part. So I would say yes, I think Miller is part of it, but I don't know if he's consciously a part of it, or if the protomolecule is using the best aspects of his personality. Like scientifically, it knows what relates best to other humans. And so it's drawing from that.
It's an algorithm.
Yeah, the Miller algorithm.
Yeah, it didn't allude to the fact that he was still Miller, as in the person as such. But yeah, I'm not sure actually, because I don't think it was somebody who had like the proper personality and things of Miller. It kind of made it sound like it was more the husk of what Miller had been, maybe more so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that was part of my confusion about the taking over the alien thing, because there definitely was a sense that he was involved on the planet as much as he was in Holden's head. But how did that happen? And none of it was really explained to my satisfaction, or maybe I was just too dumb to get to read between the lines. But yeah, he certainly, they seem to recognize him as a personality as well as a construct that had some influence. So his idea of his hat and his beer drinking and the doors and windows little phrases were as much a part of the investigator as they were, you know, his consciousness.
So, and I truly don't remember this in the film, in the series, but where does Havelock go after this? Is he the replacement Miller, or is he going to connect with the Miller entity? And the protomolecule, whatever it is, you know, Plato or whatever, is out. You know, they've gotten rid of it. So I wonder if he's going to be a conduit. I mean, that would be a great direction to go, maybe. And I can't remember what happened in the series.
My memory of the series was that a lot of the end of the book didn't happen. Havelock stayed on the ship, as far as I remember, and became a conduit to resolving it. But
Was it?
that could be wrong.
I thought in the TV series, Havelock, didn't he die in the first?
Yeah, he
got
he
killed.
died in season 1. Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
It was
yeah.
this-
Oh, it's a different
this-
character then in the
he was.
yeah.
I think one of you pointed out after our first one that the actor had another job. He does Magnum PI, is it?
That was
He
it.
wanted out,
Yeah,
so they
yeah.
killed him off. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Havelock died in season 1.
Mm.
Oh, so great. This might go in a new direction then in the books.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of it like that. I have, that's it. Well, one of the questions I had actually about reading the experience, they always introduce a whole set of new characters in every book from perspectives to write on.
Mhm.
I'm not sure whether I like it or dislike it. You know, I'm trying not to let my overall opinions of this one novel color the thing. Is that you don't really get a sense of joined upness from novel to novel, other than obviously we get Holden's perspective every single time. But we have to learn new characters every time we go in, except new characters that have appeared before in a lot of cases.
I thought for sure Havelock was going to be wearing a red shirt because I thought he was going to die. I thought there's no way he survives. But
Yeah.
It was good.
Tammy Sir says you have to keep reading to find out more about the builders. And also, thank you, Tammy. Tammy says Havelock survived. They just left his character in the hospital in the TV series. Okay.
Oh.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. No, I think I do remember that. Actually, now you said it. Very good point. So maybe, yeah. Maybe that makes.
Oh
more
yeah,
sense.
he's dead. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he was seriously hurt, I think, though, and
He was attacked, I think, by Anderson Dawes' crew or something around the stage in the first series.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe they didn't kill him because they thought they might bring him back at some point. Maybe
Could have been.
keep their options open, but
Maybe.
it's kind of a bummer. Thank you, Tammy.
I think on the multiple points of view thing, though, I quite like it because it does allow, and I know it's a tool to use, but it does allow you to see the intricacies of that particular situation. And I actually think it worked quite well in this book because, for example, I really, really liked the bit where you had one chapter, and I think it was maybe. Don't know if it was, and they were talking about how the squatters were feeling about the kind of security team, and they were feeling like they wouldn't come out of their houses, and they were being like very scared of them and were staying in. And then you switched to Elvie's point of view, and she found them comforting to have them out there. I thought it was really interesting, showing both points of view and how in that situation they're just people and they're just dealing with what they've seen and how it's done in different ways. So I kind of like the different points of view, and especially when they're embedded in the particular situation you're looking at, I think it allows you to see a little bit more than you would do if you were just doing the same 4 characters wandering up sort of thing. But some of them work, some of them don't. So
I thought it was interesting who they picked to be the point of views, because you would think from the outset that they would have picked Murtry as a point of view.
Yeah, I was curious about.
Yeah. But I guess it makes him more. He's more mysterious, isn't he?
Yes,
you don't really know his motivations if you don't have his inside his brain kind of stuff. I don't know.
You know how it turned out that they were hoping for Holden to fail. I just felt like with Murtry, it's almost like it's like, who is the guy that we need to get out of the office, and just like, I mean, because just the decisions he made from right off the bat, were just antagonistic, and that was probably meant to just to kind of show the hubris of the I forget which company he was with, and
RCE.
Yeah, and he really didn't respect what LV did and the scientists were trying to do. It just seemed like they were just sort of tag-alongs to whatever he had to do. But that was my impression too. Just because of his personality, why would they send someone out who had no negotiating skills whatsoever or leadership skills?
But then I think they did explain it a little bit, didn't they? Say that he was just like a safe pair of hands to sell out. He'd done, settlements or led missions beforehand, and they thought, you know, probably also while saying get him away from the office, kind of thing, like you say.
Yeah.
We could do without him around. This would be a good spot for him.
But I guess also maybe he's not like that when he's in normal society, because he had the whole thing about, this isn't normal society, this is frontier, you have to be different. So he was kind of off of his leash a little bit, sort of thing. So maybe actually when he's not in the middle of nowhere making those kind of crazy decisions, he's a lot more normal. Or doesn't come across that badly, I guess.
And kind of thinking about that, I also thought, he killed that one guy. What was it? Cooper?
Coop.
Yeah.
Coop. And just like an instant decision. That's what Miller had done. He had made this instant decision to shoot. And then in the last book, the guy that hurt his spine, he had spaced somebody just on, an instant decision. So it's almost like that part did come from society, civil society. But just the total package, I felt like couldn't they have found somebody else to take care of this.
But a lot of the book was an exploration and putting people under extreme pressure with no outside help or interference, how they would react. Like you see how the whole engineering crew, who were now military trained but could be led along under desperation to do ridiculous things.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't desperation though. They were enjoying that. That was fun and games. Surely that was the whole. Whole thing.
It was, but again, their opinion switches in a matter of seconds as well. Do you know they're going to blow everybody up, and then all of a sudden they go, "Oh, I'm very sorry, I don't know what I was thinking about." Literally within a second, these kind of very broad changes of opinion seem to happen very quickly after being hell bent on destroying everybody, like anonymous murderers.
Maybe, but again, I think I quite liked how they were done, because they were done as kind of like it was hobby recreation on the side, like you go and play paintball, blah blah blah, and then the excitement of catching Naomi. And then when you come across, I have no idea how the idea that they were going to blow up a ship with people on it even was a sensible idea, and why they ever thought about that kind of thing or following those orders. That makes no sense to me. But the idea of people getting caught up and going ahead and following orders and getting into the whole hype, I think it's a very human thing, actually. Getting caught in crowds and groups of people, absolutely. Why on earth you'd blow up a ship with people on it for no reason? I don't understand that bit. That was weird. But the engineers, I thought, were kind of interesting, actually. I loved the discussion they were having with Havelock. Should have shot them way earlier, but I did love the back and forth with Havelock while they were doing that, which is quite good as well.
Yeah.
What did you all think of the the triple whammy of the tsunami and the slugs? And then what was it, the flora?
The blindness.
I forget what they call it, the flora eye, where they lost their sight. People are losing their sight. I love the tsunami part. I enjoyed that, the suspense and what's going to happen. And the slugs I was okay with, because that made sense. It's just
As I said at the beginning, I really liked the first bit, but then it just got a little bit too much. It was like you said, it was just on top of another thing or another thing or another thing. I was just like, really? Okay.
Then the fusion power going out. It was like all means and all avenues that had of positive advancement were taken away from them, and they were all ready to die. Nobody wanted to try something else. They didn't want to leave the small confines of where they were and go to the ruins, or otherwise just to even see. It seemed a bit. None of it made much sense from people who were supposedly very smart.
I think it speaks to what human nature is when you're out there and there's this frontier and you feel like you have this power. So people vie for control, and they think they know what's best, and they aren't always making the most logical decisions. They just they want to be the one to plant their flag there, and that's like, this is mine, and I'm going to take control of the situation.
Yeah.
Tammy says the Earth Exploration Team and Security are a private company hired by Earth similar to Protogen, they're not vetted government employees.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
Background checks optional.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Leila.
No, I was just going to say, talking about the tsunami and everything else, I forgot to mention that really the whole planet then was a machine, kind of,
It
right?
was.
If it, well, or it was so programmed um, that the whole planet reacted, and would let food down, but would not let weapons come down. Is that what, did you all
Yeah,
read
because
it?
the energy signatures or
Something like
again,
that.
some of that didn't make sense. Again, are we meant to believe that all these people were going to live there for 3 years with no food source on the planet, and they were going to keep on getting things brought down from the ships above long term? And then as soon as all that was over, they were all of a sudden they found a way to make food. It was all a bit I don't know. I feel like I'm saying the same thing again and again, but an awful lot of it didn't make an awful lot of scientific sense. I think the science really started to bug me at a certain point in that, okay, if it is as hopeless as they say it is, then why is everybody fighting for their corner of the earth? And even Murtry, when he was basically saying, like, we're all going to die here, but at least we'll leave somewhere for the next people to make a start, and hell bent on doing that. Again, it didn't really seem to fit his MO of winning,
Hmm.
and being the big dog, last one standing, etc. He seemed to switch around.
Yeah, I really didn't understand the end. Like I said, I didn't understand the whole trying to bring down the ship and the people
Yeah.
randomly, and then I didn't understand his last. He's just trying to basically kill everyone. And it wasn't him, and then to the point where he's gonna die. But like you said, they've made it safe for the next RC people or whatever else. That didn't, to me, that seemed a bit too far fetched. But yeah, I guess I don't know.
Like he was focused on his legacy.
True.
It could be true.
Yeah, but yeah, for him, it just seemed like that was pie in the sky dreaming because, not because of him in particularly, but there's so much happening. I doubt he's going to be, remembered um, because the planet doesn't sound that great to me. That people are going to come and settle, unless it's like the belt where they just create, or like Mars where they just create um, something that helps them, live on the planet more comfortably as humans.
That's a good point, actually, because one of the things I thought at the end that wasn't really answered was they're all staying there, from my understanding, and making a colony, but didn't they have like a massive discussion about the levels of radiation and everything that would have been kicked up by the massive explosion? I found that a bit confusing about but they're not worried about that anymore at the end. I don't know. Or did the machines help clear it up? I don't know.
I think what was left unresolved for me was that the squatters came there because they really had nowhere else to go,
That's right.
and so if they don't want more squatters, that is an issue that must be addressed within the system. And I mean, that's where my mind went with some of that toward the end. Okay, if they leave, who's going to take them? Where are they going to go? And, that didn't, maybe it'll be explained in the future. But that to me was a loose end. And I just want to mention the connection to Holden and the little boy who died.
Katua.
How they made that connection. I thought that was okay, but
about Bazia. He was the guy. Yeah, again, that's a very good point, actually. The fact that he was the guy that was, what was his name? The guy that there was in the other book.
Prax.
Thank you. Yeah, that they were also friends before because they were children. That's a very good point.
Tammy mentioned the Rossi landing with the protomolecule woke the planet up. It was dormant before that. It only reacted to the ship after the island malfunctioned and blew up.
Okay.
Right. And it all woke up apart from that one section that then Miller then was saying we have to go in and see why this bit's shut off for it to work properly, or
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay. Hmm. See, so much. I kind of feel like that through the book is that I missed a couple of key things that would have helped it make a bit more sense, and that's on me, But
I can kind of get your point beforehand, because I think initially there was a whole discussion about how the colony was getting re-ups from the ship, but they did have a discussion about how they were going to have to manage that once the ship left, and they were going to have to start making their own supplies or making their own food and everything else, and they were working through that. But then after the explosion, then there was the fact that they could barely drop anything that had any kind of battery source or power, and obviously they couldn't bring the ships up and down, so that made more of an issue. And then I guess at that point they wouldn't be able to take all of their ore into space as well, which was one of the big things. I did want to ask the question of, I know we've had an ongoing discussion about the oh my god, the Mormons. Was it Mormons originally? The Mormon ship. And they had that wonderful sentence at the beginning where they were like, it was the Nauvoo, and then the Behemoth, and then it's Medina Station, and they had that little, that made me laugh from all of our discussions previously in the other 3 books. So I enjoyed that. Like, names matter. That was good.
Exactly.
Those poor Mormons. I feel bad for them every book.
Right.
They're so close. They're so close.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they addressed it.
And there was very little Naomi Holden relationshipy stuff in this one.
That was very low. I did think maybe from what you said earlier, Layla, about the Naomi and Havelock thing, I don't know if it was actually meant to soften Havelock, because when you were originally, he was saying he's taking on the personality of whoever his like lead was, or his boss was essentially, and he was quite kind of quite cold, and then obviously Naomi helped warm him up a little bit, I think. So I don't know whether it was an aid to try and get us to warm to him a bit more. I wasn't sure on that front. But yeah, I didn't like him initially at all, I don't think, when I was reading his first chapters. I thought it was a bit meh, but I think he got better later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that thing of everybody being company men and women? They're very loyal to what their brief or what the company wanted them to do, and they shouldn't step outside their brief.
What did you guys think of the? Sorry, that ticked something in my head. What did you guys think of the fact that the discussions and the point that the RCE had, that basically that the squatters had started all of the violence, and the kind of where they were coming from when they initially went down? What do you think about that at all? Do you think it was done well? Or?
I liked actually the change. I'm pretty sure it's changed from the TV series, in that Basia was trying to save the ship rather than actually blow it up, trying to detonate it the landing part earlier and end up inadvertently getting them. But then they went in and murdered. I think it was quite clearly set up that both sides very quickly had descended into losing their moral compass. It became territorial, and that both sides were very much in the wrong. And I actually thought for a stage at the start that, God, your sympathies are definitely with the RCE, because they really have been quite restrained and haven't done anything. And then, of course, Mercury shots Coop straight in the face just at a 10 meeting. And at that point, that would have been the end of it. Somebody should have just blown him out of the sky.
Did you not think that Holden's response to that was just a bit like lackluster? Like, you literally just landed and somebody shoots somebody in the face in front of you. I was just like, and he just took it. He was just like, oh, okay, that happened. I thought that was a bit kind of like, oh.
Well, that's exactly how I felt about Holden. He just came across as very weak at that stage, or even more weak than usual. Not willing to deal with the issues and And let Amos take care of it, because Amos was like a dog on a leash the whole time, and so far as he just wanted somebody to tap him on the shoulder and say, "Go deal with this." And actually, I know in the TV series they dealt with that an awful lot better. That constant pressure of every time Mercury and Amos were together, there was just the threat that the two of them were going to blow each other's heads off. And that was you got a sense of that in the book, but not the same level. It always felt like Amos just couldn't do, or was not willing to do anything because Holden wouldn't let him.
I thought in this one, ooh.
Oh, Tommy just mentions most of this was from watching Ty Frank explain this stuff.
Yeah,
I feel better now.
Yeah.
so did I. That's good.
Yeah, I think we said last time I've been enjoying that podcast, but I think we discussed how we're trying to not get up to speed, so we don't get all the explanations before we get to it.
I didn't watch the TV series this time purposely because I didn't want to confuse the two with one with the other one. So I'm trying to just go on memory, which is an awful lot better because it's very unreliable.
Love it.
I just to follow up on that, I did think I thought it was a good the blowing up of the ship by accident. I thought that was a good way to start off everything. I guess I found it odd, speaking of weak, that they so readily took Basia up into the Rocinante and let him like wander around, and they really don't know him. I mean, they don't know what's happened. We know that Basia didn't mean it, and we know that Basia's been through a whole lot of problems before he even got to that planet. So we can have some sympathy, but it just seemed very odd that he's just like walking around the bridge, and I don't know.
He was given a position of responsibility very quickly. I know there wasn't very many other people to do the work or do anything in around it, but the fact that at the end, I mean, he was ready to go back to stand trial for what he'd done, and they went, "No, just you're fine. It's okay. You did good work there. Go back to your family. It's all forgiven." But Mercury, he's coming with us. He's bad dude.
Yeah, that's right. So, I could see that in some ways. I saw it as it's another example of how things start breaking down when you're so far from a true, center of power. But at the same time, I just thought I thought there should be more caution from these very seasoned crew members. That anything, I mean, they just went through the whole Clarissa mess, and now they're trusting this stranger essentially. So,
I did like the Basia breakdown when he realized the enormity of what he'd done, or with blowing up the ship and thinking about his daughter. I quite liked that part. Again, it was very quick in the realization that he had, but I suppose in the case of what he was doing, that one made sense in that that's somebody's daughter, that's somebody's son, the people that were killed.
Was that after he takes the daughter off the ship in the
Yes, when he links the two things together and his eyes well up. I quite like the pathos of that and the payoff of his character to realize, right, I'm going to take responsibility for my actions. So when he doesn't go at the end of it, I think it's supposed you're supposed to read that as being sympathetic to him and going, oh yeah, it's good that he stayed.
Yeah,
it's a bit Hollywood of an ending.
That's actually my reading experience, is that I'm noticing the absurdity of some of it, but at the same time, I'm so caught up in it that it makes sense to me at the moment, because I did feel sorry for Basia. And then, I was like, oh, how nice of them to just let him run around the ship. But then, if you think about logically, it's like, does this really make sense? So that's kind of my reading experience of it. And that's why I did enjoy this book quite a bit, but then I would step back and say, that didn't quite make sense, but it was fun. So
I'm exactly the same. I think when you're in a book and you're enjoying the reading process, you forgive an awful lot when you're going through it. And it's not only until you start discussing it or looking back and you're like, oh, actually, yeah, very good point.
Yeah, I love how tight the crew is and how much they trust each other, but it's also kind of strange that they're so welcoming for strangers. You'd think that'd be the opposite if they had gone through so much together, and they have this trust in this really tightly knit group, and they're so welcoming to it, or they let anyone just kind of roam around. That seems kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
Well, the implication is in space. It's very hard to make family, especially within different backgrounds, etc. And the fact that they found each other is unusual. So, like you say, the idea that having fought so hard to find this family that they now have, that they would suddenly welcome all and sundry, and that it's sort of counterintuitive to, I think, what would actually happen.
Yeah.
You people just don't like making new friends, is what I'm taking from it.
Especially Amos, that guy doesn't want anybody else in his life, and all of a sudden he's kind of like, I like this guy and I like that girl, and
Oh my god! So I really didn't like. That's not true. I thought Amos in this book was quite 2D. He was only there for one reason. He was only the violent person. He was only there to be that. I thought in the other books he's had a lot more. He seemed slightly more rounded than he had been in this book, particularly. I did like the discussion about a little bit more about Alex's history, and that whole spiel about how he actually ended up, his wife, and how he just left her because he couldn't deal with her. I thought that was kind of nice because again, you haven't had too much of an explanation of his history before, so I enjoyed learning that about him. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like that too. I actually have that page tabbed.
Yeah.
Alex, I love that Alex. That we got some background on him.
Yeah, I think it's a shame we don't get enough of the four characters together at the same place. This is a couple of books now where they've kind of been split up from each other. A couple doing there and a couple there, but that the four of them together kind of interacting with each other just by themselves. They all seem to be doing their own thing, and I'd like kind of more of that togetherness so that we get a sense of their group dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's, I think, like you said, maybe because they have to bring in these other characters and other points of view. But yeah, it would be great to have them actually like a mission story together, so you could see that.
Yeah.
My favorite line.
My favorite lines from the whole series were, "Do you ever feel like the universe is about to get you, Holden? No, I feel like it's out to get you, Amos."
I do love the humor. Amos is often the funny character in it as well, which I think.
Actually, in this one, there were a couple of one-liners which I thought were particularly good. Like I liked the one where they're talking about how the drive's been taking off, and he was like, "Miller, is the sun going to go out?" That section just made me crack up really badly. I thought it was brilliant. It's like just double checking that also wasn't going to happen.
I like that Miller was back. I just love the Miller character so much.
Me
I think he's so dry. I think he's got an honesty about him, and he's really good for Holden to check Holden all the time to say, Holden's going to do one thing, and he points out, actually, this is where you should be reading this situation.
Do you think that'll be the last of him, though?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was a bit sad about it.
Yeah, but maybe
shot him into
Holden,
the sun.
Yeah. But now Holden's in his final form. He's grown up. He's shot somebody in the face or in the chest, and he shoot him in. Sorry, and then his left arm and his right leg or something like that. Mercury definitely dies in the TV series. He meets a very brutal end in the TV series. I remember that.
Oh, I don't remember that. What happened?
Maybe I'm misremembering it. Maybe that's just me projecting what I wanted to happen the whole way through that series.
I don't know. I don't remember that series. I
Hmm.
don't remember it very well at all. So,
Like my feeling of the TV series was that this was an odd series as well because of its kind of planet setting and kind of adversarial kind of nature of everything that went on. Although I enjoyed it by the end. And interestingly, I think the series, you're talking about he must be in 2D in the book, and he definitely is. Actually, in the series, I feel like his character got developed a lot through that series.
Mm-hmm.
And his brooding nature, and then kind of being restrained, and him fighting himself rather than just kind of like ask for permission from Holden all the time.
There was a quote on page 538 in my copy, but um, civilization has a built-in lag time, just like a light delay. We fly out here to this new place, and because we're civilized, we think civilization comes with us. It doesn't. We build it, and while we're building it, a whole lot of people die.
Mm.
And they give some examples of the American West. What happened during that time period. So I thought that was really kind of put it in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Murtry could give the whole analogy for the American Wild West, at the time when he was talking about it, and obviously that was the idea when they set out to write it, is they wanted to write a frontier story based on the Wild West, and the fact that there were no railroads when they got there, they had to build it all themselves.
Yeah, and that discussion about how what was his name again? How do you say it?
Murtry, I think.
Murtry was the guy you need there at the time, and Holden was the person you'd bring along once the railroads were actually already there, which is kind of interesting point.
Tammy had a comment. In the TV show, they take him prisoner. Amos tries out his newly grown fingers on his face.
Forgot about that.
Unreliable narrator right here.
Forgot about that.
That's the one thing I like about, there's certain things that we accept as being like fatal wounds or changing way of life immediately, like he's gonna have to grow some new fingers or a new hand or something. They're like, that's okay, don't worry about that, it's perfectly acceptable. It's a nice way to have things not really be consequential, actions not really be consequential, and you can just regrow them.
Mm-hmm.
True. But I'm not sure. There were a couple of times actually though with this Amos 2D aggression time. There was a couple of times, wasn't there, where there was the one where he had Havelock with the gun, and I think Holden says, I've never seen Amos walk into a fight that he didn't think he was going to win. And then again when he gets shot and obviously Elvin leaves him, and Holden's like, no, he can't be dead, he would never die, sort of thing. And I was just
he's
like,
not been
okay.
It's sort of painted like a Superman character, isn't he? There's certain things, there's nobody is equal in terms of willing to sacrifice or prepared to go the extra length, so therefore he'll not be the first one down in a fight or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was cool.
So I don't want to say too much. I'm not sure who's watched this series, but there's a character that dies from the crew, and I'm curious if that same character will die in the book. I don't know if you've all seen the series, but
no, I believe is the answer.
Oh, okay.
Because it was a Me Too thing, I think, is why his character was killed.
That's what I remembered. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was in the book. Yeah.
I thought he did, but it was in a different way.
Well, it may have been. I don't know. That'll be to be discovered. But yeah.
I love how we're all being like, do you want to spoil?
I don't know. I haven't read the books, but I believe that he was written out of the show at that time because of
yeah.
I think it did come as a surprise on the show, so yes, I would think not in the books, but
it was almost like they recorded that bit later in the show. It was like they finished shooting the series and they went, we're gonna have to do something about this, so we'll just shoot an extra couple of scenes, and that put it in that way.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. I don't know if I'm not sure. I can't remember. But yes, that would be interesting if that comes out.
I find out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you already did it, Leila, but Cibola, what Cibola was?
I
did. You did. That's good. Good.
Did you?
I did. I looked it up as well. It's the first thing that I really look up, especially when there's an odd name. I don't think I'll not be doing it for the next book, but Cibola I did look up and went, actually, I can see how that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, what I found, it's like an ancient city or a city of gold.
Yeah, it's the Montezuma thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also the national park here. It's Cibola National Park.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Since the writers are
from here, yeah.
Does the name have a different meaning, or does it have the?
I'm not too sure. I'll have to find out. Yeah, but it's the national park name here.
Interesting.
That is interesting. The names of the books are in general quite interesting because they very rarely link with anything in the actual story. So it's more like an overarching kind of theme that they've got.
Yeah, kind of a theme.
Mhm. And Tommy said they found out after they finished the season what the actor did and changed it post production.
That's what I remember.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I didn't realize. I thought because I actually thought it was done. Getting ahead of ourselves, but I actually thought that was done in quite a nice way because of the discussions they had about the risks of flight and everything else. I thought that was a very clever way of
writing it. Yeah,
offing a character sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
didn't realize that. It was sad as well, actually, because I think I do really like Alex. Oh.
Yeah.
That's okay. Buddy.
That's okay.
I do really like him as a character, but good.
Oops.
Don't ever tell me your secrets, guys.
Yeah, I do like that character too.
Yeah,
that's why I liked learning more about him in this one.
Yeah, that kind of dry wit. He's almost like even though Holden is the hero and the captain, he's almost the father. Alex, you know, he's like the bit people go and talk to him and tell him their problems, and then he tells them theirs. He shares a bit of himself, and everything just kind of calmed down a little bit. I did like the scene where they all came back for the cup of coffee, and they're shouting all of the ship. Yeah, and stick me on a cup. Yeah, stick me on a cup. That's
that's good. I think you do. Yeah, I think very much not quite a father figure because I don't think he's portrayed in kind of in that manner, but you did get a lot of how much he cared about the crew and how far he was willing to go as well, where he was, especially with when Naomi got captured, and his reaction to kind of wanting to just go full on the other ship with their weapons and everything else. That was
and even the fact that he had made a promise to Basia to rescue his daughter, and that was because he'd made the promise, it was going to happen in one way or another.
That's good.
Timmy said they also had to cut a bunch of scenes to minimize the screen time, which heavily affected pacing and important storylines. That's surprising because I thought they pulled it off pretty good. I thought it didn't seem too crazy, so they did a good job with that last minute change.
I guess it would be if they'd already seen the scenes, though. Maybe it's from their point of view. Like if you don't see the scenes at all, you'd be like, "Well, there's no difference." But see it from the other side.
Like, oh, that was easy, and they spent months on it. So
yeah, no, exactly.
You know what? The team, the Rocinante crew, actually, as a trope, it's reminding me more and more of Star Trek, the original Star Trek. Especially now they have all these planets they can go explore and adhere to the Prime Directive. Except they're all uninhabited planets, but I get a better sense of what they're trying to do now with the crew, because I started thinking of it in terms of how Star Trek was and how they were all loyal to each other. And I'm thinking of the original series, along with the others. But.
Timmy mentioned a lot of the Mars stuff was
right.
It was cut.
That'll be interesting.
And speaking of Star Trek, they do have the red shirts too. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
100%, 100%.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You made that point too.
Yeah. Sometimes you can tell that he's not going to make it.
I didn't see Coop getting killed though, to be fair.
No,
I didn't see that either.
That was shocking. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Especially given it was so out in the open. But I think, again, it just went to show you the insight into Murtry's character that it didn't matter. He wasn't going to do it behind people's back. He was going to be very upfront and balanced and use kind of fear to control people and get his way rather than doing anything else.
Can't remember if I actually liked his character initially, but I think that was because what he was doing seemed reasonable because of the fighting was started on the other side. but then it just got more and more out of like just not. I was like, okay, no, I don't like him anymore. Wait.
Yeah, lots of yeah, I think I don't know. This is an interesting one.
So what do you think? I actually am getting to the point where I'm like, I do remember this book, but I think we're going to get into books that I haven't read previously now.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Do you guys have any idea of what's going to happen in the next book? Any idea where it's going to go? Or
Well, I would imagine, and I don't know because I didn't check, but we've got to meet Kamina in the next book. She's got drummer's got to be here in the next book, I would imagine.
Who?
Do you say drummer?
Yeah, drummer. Yeah.
Mm.
She's got to make an appearance very, very soon, I would imagine. So it'll be about her, and then the Naomi's ex-lover.
Yeah.
Oh, do you think they'll start that arc of the story then?
Well, that was the 5th series of the TV series. Was that?
Oh,
It's a little bit before that, to kind of set the groundwork, etc. But I would imagine that's what's going to happen in the next book. I could be completely wrong. I haven't looked at the character names or anything, and we did get a sense that Draper's going to be back in the fold. Bobby's going to be back, so she's got a role still to play. Avasarala's going to bring her back in. And please God, Avasarala's in the next book, because even though she was only in it for 1-2 chapters here, it was amazing.
I did think it was funny.
No.
Okay.
The comment by Tammy. It's just
Drummer was an amalgam of a lot of different Belter characters.
that breaks my heart.
I think we knew that she wasn't part of it already because and I'm going to spoil it for people who haven't seen the series, but because of the dude that was in the who broke his back.
Yeah, the bull. Yeah,
that happened to her in the
her.
TV
That's right.
series
Yeah, that's right.
instead. So I knew that either she was a different character or she was done differently.
I just thought she was a different character was coming later, but that breaks my heart. That's the best character in the series. Well, I'll get over it.
No, he doesn't need anymore.
to be fair, though, it was surprising because I would have, given how prominent that she is in the TV show, I thought we would have met her already, so maybe that does make a lot of sense.
But no, it'd be really cool if we did get into the more of Naomi's history and the belt thing, because I thought that was a really interesting storyline. So that'd be fun.
Tammy says she is a character, but it's just not the same as TV.
Okay, that's good.
So she's still around.
That's cool. I really like spotting the differences between the adaptation and the novels.
Yeah, me
and then
too.
And then thinking about why would you do that, or why would you make that decision to change it. I think that's one of my favorite things about reading things that have been adapted after the fact. You kind of go, okay.
I think it's really good fun, actually.
Yeah.
Also, Tammy has been very, very helpful, by the way.
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
MVP.
For sure.
Definitely has.
Yeah, keeping us straight.
For sure. Good.
I think they foreshadowed Naomi a bit by when Holden mentioned having children, and she was like, "No children." Do you remember reading that, or did I? Yeah.
That was in the last book, wasn't it? That I don't think it was in this book so much.
So I think they're kind of setting up for something
coming up.
And that speaks to just something else that while these people are very loyal to each other, they only know each other from their current actions. Like they don't know their past. And so that is an interesting area to explore, I think.
No, definitely. I do also want to know how they swing, because of the fact that obviously I can't remember how it works out in the series, but how they're going to align the fact that all the Belters could just go and live on a planet now.
Yes.
But they're going to have this uprising of the Belters in space from the TV series. So how that's going to be.
Well, they said there's 1,600 ships, isn't there, just after what happened on the planet, that they're like, right, okay, we can all make our fortune. It's again very America's Wild West. You know, everybody, there's gold to be found in their hills, and
Yeah.
everybody goes and heads towards San Francisco. You know.
Yeah, but then how because that whole point about the and again, I don't want to be giving away more spoilers, but the whole point in the series is that the Belters want, like, they're a nation and then they all combine under the one flag.
Yeah.
But if everyone can go just live on a planet, then what makes them Belters? So I don't know how they're gonna align that in the overarching story.
Yeah, I think they kind of talked about that insofar as that when they left the planet, that actually the first babies would probably be mixed, you know, background. You know, there'd be one from the RCE and one from the Belters' original colony, and that people will actually, once they settle on the planet, lose their identity of where they came from, and they just became natives of that planet.
Interesting. Timmy said the actress was supposed to be in one episode, but she was so amazing they kept adding and expanding her role.
That's neat.
Cara G is
Oh, very cool.
incredible in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It
Was
is.
excellent.
I always love these discussions because I always have a different perspective of them by the time we're done.
Yeah, I've softened on it. You see, we've done this talk and from maybe DNFing at one point.
Wow.
It would have been a DNF, but to read the next book kind of thing. Just move on to kind of going, okay, I'm on board. There was more here, and there was things that I just kind of got carried away with myself a little bit.
Yeah, I think the size didn't help. I think it was.
Yeah, the extra 100 pages, I actually felt it when I was reading it. You know, it kind of felt like, oh, there's a lot going on here, and it feels like it's dragging out a little bit.
Do you know what we haven't discussed? The big bad. What did you? I mean, at the end, what do you guys think of that? Because it was just basically a hole. Is what I gathered.
Oh yeah. The big eye.
Yeah.
Like
that's who wiped out the people who built the station, was my
Oh
understanding.
yeah.
It's a bit odd. I felt like I missed something in it. Insofar as, was it just like a big growth over the control panel or over the generator, and then it was attacked by all the like limbs and bits of it when they were fighting it? I don't know. It seemed a bit odd. I could have done with a visualization of that. And again, I'm not sure that happened in the TV series either. I think they maybe did away with that. I can't remember that bit from the TV series at all.
I just remember thinking it was a setup to be a complication, you know, as we go forward. But I also love the idea, you know, just of, you know, this other incredible crisis and tragedy. And here are these humans who are totally a different species, you know, discovering this and not really paying attention to it and just fighting each other. But, you know, yeah, I found it very intriguing and interesting. Yeah, it looks like the Eye of Sauron on TV.
Okay.
That's cool.
I like to read and find out. That's that's good. It's still going to be dealt with, and we're going to come back to it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you softened up, huh, Chris?
I have. I mean, it's one of my favorite books now. Maybe.
Maybe. Good stuff.
Yeah, they're fun.
They are.
They're popcorn reads. It's just like just fun. You know, it's just. But
and popcorn reads of 600 pages are better if they're popcorn reads of 500 pages.
Yeah, exactly. But while they are popcorn reads, they do have a lot. They do have some serious themes that they're trying to tackle too. So that's what's the balance of it.
Yeah, and that makes it great to me.
Yeah. And that's the things I'm finding about myself is that if there's more thematic stuff, I really engage with it, and if there's more action at the expense of the thematic, I'm like, this is my favorite parts of this. So, yeah,
Mm.
finding stuff about myself reading it. It's good.
A journey of self-exploration, reading The
Indeed,
Expanse.
the expanse, indeed.
Malazan
Tammy.
Light or Malazan.
Mm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is interesting, indeed.
I've not heard of that series. I'm gonna have to go and Google it.
Don't
you'll
go
find
too
lots
far.
of
You
stuff.
get there's a hole you're going to go down there, Robin.
Oh yeah, it's a deep hole.
It is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah. It's this series is something else.
There's a pretty good character in the one I'm reading now, House of Chains. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I heard that's a whole nother change of scenery, a whole new part of the world or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
haven't started it yet, but it's coming up here
There you
soon.
go.
Yeah,
Cool.
cool. So, final thoughts, Robin. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's sort of the beginning. I liked it. I thought it was. I like the idea of it, like the concept. Obviously, it's a lot smaller than the kind of space opera ones we've had before, where you've got all the different worlds, and it would be nice to return to that. But I enjoyed the storyline, forgave some of the things that were to be overlooked, I think, because I was enjoying it. So yeah, all in all, I was good. Probably not the strongest, but I enjoyed it.
What about you, Layla?
Oh yes, I did enjoy it very much. So thumbs up on this one.
Chris, is a 5-star read for you now?
It's fine. I'm over it. We're happy. I'm happy it's happened, and I'm happy the events happened. And if Holden's a better man for it, then we're all a big winner.
Mhm.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think it was okay. I mean, it was fine. It was my favorite of the series, but it wasn't terrible either. It's just one of those things. But no, it was. I do like the themes that they're exploring and kind of the ideas. I just think it could be a little shorter. But
Yeah.
but these discussions are worth it. So
Yeah.
no complaints. Well, cool. So Robin, where can people find you if they want to find out more about you or connect with you?
Where can they find me? They can find me on YouTube, or I think where I'm most active is probably Twitter. I am also on Instagram, all under Bookends and Biscuits. So feel free to say hi.
Yes. And Layla?
Just on Twitter right now.
And Chris?
You can find me on YouTube. Just my name, Chris Moen, and on Twitter, 7:00 Shadow.
Nice. And I'll add all those links to the description for anyone wanting to find you and check out all their good stuff. And Layla has some stuff coming up that we're excited to see being worked on. So good stuff. Thank you, everyone in the chat, and for coming by. Thank you, Tammy, and the other commenters for hanging out and chatting with us, keeping us on the straight and narrow. So
Yeah, for sure.
cool. Well, we'll be back next month for the next book. Until then, we'll see everybody soon.
Thank you.
Bye.